Domestically, we're going to start with the 1940s. Um, and so really and truly the 1940s here we're picking up right after World War II is over. And we'll go through this now. The 1940s is called the post-war boom. If you remember anything after a war, there's always a boom. There's one after World War I, etc. And so that's what we're moving into here. But we can see some stuff start to develop, mainly the relation between African Americans and also the communist fear, the Red Scare that is growing at that time. So, first little part of notes here, we're going to really focus on just general society and what was going on. Now, if you remember World War II, I talked about the GI Bill, which was the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, and this provided soldiers coming home from war money to go to college, to get a good loan on a house, to get a job, to start a family, and so that's a pretty good thing because now they can go. And as a result, it stayed in there, and many people today still join the Army to take advantage of the GI Bill. The next thing, if you remember, women was going through the almost kind of a sexual revolution in the 1940s, and the fact that they left the home and took up office. And remember, I talked about Rosie the Riveter, and here we have a simile, right? Now, I just found this funny, right? I got 99 problems, but a KitchenAid one. And that's kind of maybe a sexist thing to look at, but it's what happened in the 40s. They go from being Rosie the Riveter to Rosie the Homemaker. Meaning the women go back into the homes when men come back from war and continue there. And they really, really don't come out of the home until the 60s happen, and then we have the sexual revolution and pushing for equal pay, etc. There's actually something in your packet, and ladies, you won't like it, about the Good Housewife's Guide in the 1950s, and we're going to look at that. It's interesting. Just a simple Google search will produce it for you. It was in a magazine, and it's what was generally accepted. Now, another common sense, right? There's a baby boom after World War II. The soldiers came home, saw their wives, and they were happy to see them, and as a result, we have an increase in birth rate. Now, this baby boom of note is very, very important because these baby boomers will grow up to be the hippies in the 60s, and they are the ones who are currently living right now in their 60s, and who are living longer lives and causing us to maybe rethink the Social Security system. Now, I say this because this is my mother. My mother was born in 47. She was in that post-war boom. She was a hippie in the 1960s, and she currently is in her 60s, enjoying Social Security, but also having to deal with rising healthcare prices and things of that nature. So that's the baby boom, all right? Now, we get into two doctors, and these doctors are first, all right? Now, understand, having a baby is a very scary opportunity. The first time I had my first child, I remember holding my child in my arms and going, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this. It can't do anything on its own. Feed, talk, walk, none of that. And it's a scary moment. Luckily, having my mother, my mother-in-law, my wife, and just anybody that's willing to help, they give you a lot of advice. That didn't exist prior to Dr. Benjamin Spock coming out with a book called Baby and Child Care. And this was the most widely recommended handbook for parents ever published. And there were over 13 million copies sold. And so that's important because they bring up stuff, ABC always on their back in a crib and things like that maybe people took for granted. So when you get much, 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 much older, not when you're 15, 16, 17, have children, have no idea what to do, don't have any help, maybe Dr. Benjamin Spock book can help you as well. Now the next thing was, we have a medical scientist of note named Jonas Salk. Now Jonas Salk, there had been a oral vaccine for polio that people could take, but he actually invented one that was like an injection. And so he is the one who basically developed the vaccine for polio that many people listening to this right now have probably taken advantage of. Now, a lot of people, there is an anti-vaxxer movement where people are saying it causes autism, etc. And you really have to make up your mind about that. Do you want your child to die from a childhood disease? Could they risk getting something? Possibly, but is it something that you can control? No. And so you have to really look at that and take a really good mind. Now, this is kind of jumping a little bit here into the 50s, but the Eisenhower interstate system, I-55 was part of this. I-240, I-40, all these roads we have around us. Eisenhower introduces a plan to build a system of interstate roads that would connect this country. Now, part of the reason was people could get place to place, but the bigger reason is, in case of an invasion, namely a communist invasion, we can deploy our military services really quickly. Next time you're on interstate, look on the side of the road and you'll see a plane emblem painted on there. That's because a plane can land there. That's why for every 7 mile of curved road there is a straight road, so the plane and some supplies could land. We've never had to use that, but it is there in case, and so that's a good thing for. Now, here's the Dwight D. Eisenhower system of interstates and highways and how they're linked up, and you can see it's quite crazy, but you can get basically anywhere in this country on this now. So if somebody launched an invasion, it could get put down pretty quickly. Now, the last thing we need to talk about, the 1940s, it was all about how affluent you were. Now, what on earth is affluency? Affluency is what you see here. Money. Lots of money that you have, that you're going to spend, that you're going to put into the economy, that you're going to do different things with. Because of this affluency, we have the rise of Holiday Inn. We have the rise of just different chains that start coming out to help people out. And so that is a good thing. In the next section, we'll talk about moving into the suburbs and paintings and things like that.